Welcome back, my fellow patriots, to the Save Our Republic daily video series. Today I'm going to talk about something that we almost always ignore in connection with American government and the Constitution today, and that is the concept of enumerated powers. This actually goes to the heart of the Constitution and why we have a limited government and how that is implemented. But unfortunately, it is basically completely ignored and almost never taught in K through 12 schools and even in college and law schools. So the bottom line is that we have a constitution in the federal system, a federal constitution, and we have state constitutions. And in the federal constitution, unlike state constitutions for the most part, and unlike any other framework of government before our Constitution was ratified in 1788, our Constitution says that the federal government only has the powers that are specifically given to it. In other words, expressed in the Constitution. Go back through the course of human history, and governments have all the powers that it can possibly exercise, and then there might be some reservations of privileges. There might be some protections of some kind of traditions and customs and rights, but basically the government was unlimited, and then the Constitution might rein that in just a little bit. The federal Constitution of the United States is exactly opposite. It provides that the federal government only has the powers that are specifically listed in the Constitution, giving the federal government those powers. This turned the world topsy-turvy in connection with governments. It established the freest framework of a government ever in the course of human history, even through today. And we forget that because the federal government seems to be involved everywhere, all the time, in connection with not just our national lives, but our state lives and our county and our cities. It seems like the federal government has its fingers, its tentacles, whatever you want to describe it, everywhere. And I think that would have really surprised and probably put chills of fear in the Founding Fathers. We can debate later whether or not those changes are for good or for ill, but right now I just want to enumerate, all puns intended, the idea of enumerated powers. And if you go to Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution, pull out your pocket Constitution, you will see where Congress is granted specific powers. And remember, in the Constitution, we have three branches of government. We have the legislative branch, which is supposed to create the laws, the executive branch, which is supposed to enforce the laws, and then a judiciary, which is supposed to resolve disputes between the states and the federal government and between parts of the federal government and to interpret what the law means. So you have the three branches. So all the powers about creating public policy and legislation are supposedly vested in the Congress, and therefore the Congress in Article 1, Section 8 is given certain powers, and that's all the powers that the federal government is supposed to have unless it's otherwise provided for in the Constitution. And here's the list. To lay and collect taxes, duties, imposts, and excises, to pay the debts and provide for the common defense and general welfare of the United States, to borrow money on the credit of the United States, to regulate commerce with foreign nations and among several states, to coin money, regulate the value thereof, to establish post offices and post roads, to promote the progress of science and useful arts by securing for limited times and inventors the exclusive right to respective writings and discoveries, that's patents and copyrights, to define and punish piracies and felonies committed on the high seas and offenses against the law of nations. This is so specific that they felt they needed to list that the federal government could punish piracies, to declare war, grant letters of marque and reprisal, and make rules concerning captures on land and water, to raise and support armies, to provide and maintain a navy, to make all laws which shall be necessary and proper for the carrying out into execution the foregoing powers. That list is very small. The key ones are, it has the power to tax and spend, it has the powers to maintain a military, has the powers to regulate commerce, both between states and between the United States and foreign nations. And everything else is left to the state governments. If it's not listed, then the federal government is not supposed to act there. Now, I will just have you reflect Look at what's going on in the national news with President Biden and the signing of all these executive orders. Look at what President Trump tried to do before that. Go back to Obama and Bush and go back all the way through and think, does it seem like the federal government is limiting its reach and authority and intervention in our lives to those enumerated powers? And if not, why not, and what can we do about it? We're going to have more discussions. I'm up at my time limit here, but that's great food for thought. If you want to learn more about this, you can check it out at americasurvivalguide.com. That's my book. You can go to patriotweek.org, and you can check out the Patriot Lessons American History and Civics podcast. And of course, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this video series and all those resources. Until tomorrow, God bless you, and God bless America.